All right, my little fluff balls, waddle on over, it's story time. Yes, I see you, Harold, trying to sneak in a belly slide, but let's keep the sliding to a minimum for a few minutes, all right? Today I've got a tale that's as cool as an iceberg, but warmer than a big penguin hug. It's about a chunk of clay that didn't know what it was going to be, but guess what? A sculptor came along and turned it into something amazing, just like how God's working on you, even when life feels a little spinny or heated. He knows what you need to make you the best penguin, person, you can be. Now let's dive in. Once upon a time, in a small, cozy workshop, there was a sculptor known for creating magical things out of simple, unshaped clay. One day, while walking by a river, the sculptor found a large, rough chunk of clay. It didn't look like much, but he picked it up with a smile and took it back to his workshop. The chunk of clay was confused and a bit nervous. "What's happening? Why are you taking me? I'm fine just the way I am," it thought. But the sculptor didn't reply. He simply began to knead and mould the clay, working it with his hands. The clay grumbled, "Hey, stop squeezing me so hard. I like being free. Why are you changing me?" But the sculptor only smiled and said softly, "Just a little longer." Then the sculptor placed the clay on his spinning wheel, and suddenly it was whirling around faster and faster. "Whoa, slow down, I'm getting dizzy!" cried the clay. But the sculptor only nodded and whispered, "Hold on." Next, the sculptor began shaping the clay into the form of a small doll, carefully smoothing out its arms, legs and face. The clay began to realize something special was happening, but still felt uncomfortable. "Why are you pulling me and stretching me like this? It doesn't feel good," it shouted. The sculptor simply hummed a gentle tune and replied, "Not yet." Finally, the clay doll was taking shape, but the sculptor wasn't done. He placed it in the kiln where the heat was intense. The clay doll panicked. "This is too hot! You're burning me!" it screamed, but through the kiln's small window the sculptor could be seen watching closely and softly saying, "Wait a moment." When the time was right, the sculptor opened the kiln, carefully took the clay doll out and set it aside to cool. "Phew, that was rough," sighed the clay doll. "Is it over now?" But the sculptor wasn't finished. He began painting the doll with beautiful colours, giving it rosy cheeks, bright eyes and a little blue dress. The smell of paint filled the air and the doll protested again. "This is too much. Why are you doing this to me?" With a loving smile, the sculptor replied once more, "Almost done." At last, the sculptor placed the doll on the shelf. The next day, a little girl came to the workshop with her parents. It was her birthday, and she had been hoping for a special gift. When the sculptor handed her the newly made clay doll, her eyes lit up with joy. She hugged the doll tightly and exclaimed, "It's perfect! I love her!" The sculptor smiled as he watched the girl run off with her new doll, now cherished and loved. The clay doll, feeling the warmth of the girl's embrace, realized that every part of the process, the kneading, the spinning, the heat, the paint, had been worth it. It was now something beautiful, just as the sculptor had always planned. The sculptor whispered to the doll, as if it could still hear him, "Now, you're exactly what I intended you to be." So there you have it. That clay thought it was just a lumpy old thing, but the sculptor had big plans, just like God has for you. When you're feeling dizzy or things get a little too hot to handle, just remember God is shaping you into something incredible. He's got a perfect plan, and you're going to be the best version of yourself, like a penguin in a tuxedo. Now off you go, and no sliding for at least 5 minutes. Yes, Harold, I mean you. See you soon for more penguin-approved stories.